Hey everyone, Ted here from Logo Further, and today I want to talk about how you can save money on a logo designer without cutting any corners. Now right off the bat, you might be thinking hire the designer with the lowest rate or do it yourself. I would recommend neither of those because chances are if you're doing it yourself, you might not be aware of the necessary considerations that are going to make an effective logo, and if you're hiring somebody with the lowest rate, chances are their quality of work is not the best. Before we get started, I'm going to bring back a point from a previous video, and that is when you're hiring a designer, you're not hiring them for their time. You're hiring them for their creative energy and their expertise that they're going to bring into a project. So you still want to find an experienced designer, one with strong expertise and a thorough understanding of their craft. But you want to, if you're going to save money with them, you want to spare them as much creative thinking and planning and background research as you can. Now, I'm not saying this because it's a bother to graphic designers. Graphic designers love the research project if they're truly passionate about what they do. I love going through background research and looking to understand the mission and the vision of my clients and coming up with something that is creative and effective for them. But that does make for a more expensive project. And some clients are totally okay with that, and others are looking to streamline in terms of cost as much as possible. So in order to do that, you want to show up to the project as prepared and ready to communicate as possible. The more information you can give to a designer, the more direction they will have. The designer is essentially the instrument that executes the input that you give them. If you give them not enough information or perhaps inaccurate information to what you're looking for, they're going to spend energy in that project going in a direction that you don't need them to go. And that project is going to be prolonged and more expensive, essentially. So you want to make sure that you're guiding them and directing them in the direction you need them to go. Because the more info that you can share, the more effective they're going to be. So showing up with a clear understanding of your brand and your why and your mission, your target demographic, who the logo needs to appeal to and why and what message you want it to convey to them. Those are all essential considerations to a logo designer in order to create something that is meaningful and effective for you. And if they have to kind of figure that out for themselves, then there's going to be a lot of trial and error in that project. They're going to go back to the drawing board numerous times, and that's what's going to get expensive, is because they're spending more creative energy. I like to tell folks that graphic design is not expensive. Revisions are. And lots of revisions only need to happen when the designer doesn't have the direction that they need. And that comes down to the client being willing to give information and the designer asking the right questions. So it is definitely a two-way street there. So for example, I had a client in the past that used mountain climbing as an example of goal setting. It was a metaphor that their company used. So they told me right off the bat at the beginning of the collaboration that that is the direction they wanted to take it, with some kind of mountain peak or a goal off in the distance that they wanted to achieve. So I had to do very little creative thinking in that process. And then for other clients in the past, I've had them say, take it in any direction you want. And there's a lot more experimentation to get where we need to in terms of getting to their ideal destination for their logo. So the less experimentation, the less creative thinking that your designer has to do on their own, the more you will be able to save. So giving them necessary direction, communication, input, and ample feedback is going to get the project where it needs to go in as little effort as possible and as little cost as possible. So I hope this video is helpful to you. If it was, consider giving it a like and also leave a comment with anything that you learned. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you want to subscribe to my channel, I will be coming out with future tips on how to make sure that your logo design projects are as effective as possible. So stay tuned for those videos as well. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you next time.